So I didn't know if you wanted to talk through your tempo map thing of your project.
I didn't open your thing yet.
What?
I didn't learn from it yet. Hey, man, I gotta put out 7 new tracks.
7?
I'm sorry, I'm behind.
Yeah, that should take you like an hour, right?
The 7 new tracks?
Yeah. Where is this Macleod speed I've heard so much about?
Yeah, the Macleod speed has been, oh God. Okay, so the whole deal comes to me buying, it's Apple's fault. It's Apple's fault.
Because you got the M1.
It's the M1 processor, and I ordered it, and in order to get that thing done, right now I have enough tracks to drop through January 5th, and I know the licensing is going to be a when I reinstall everything fresh on this new computer. So I'm going to be out of decent commission for about 3 weeks to do this changeover.
Oh, so you're pre-writing right now.
So I am absolutely pre-writing so that I can get 7 new pieces done by December 21st so that they'll be loaded through the end of February.
If you clone the hard drive, does that transfer your licenses over?
No, it does not. It is a hardware thing and it pokes at you have to go to their website, you know, that I may not have gone to in 10 years and recover my password. Thank my God, my email address still exists.
Yeah.
This could go well. It is entirely possible that I could get this build up in 3 days.
With the processor as fast as it is, and I'm guessing there's got to be M.2 hard drives in there, right? The NVMe?
Oh yeah, the drives are fast, and I also have USB 3 external SSDs with all my samples on them. So those don't even need to be copied over. It's just the licensing that I have to deal with.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Yeah.
That's one of the arguments in pro dongle world, where like all you'd have to do is just unplug a thing, plug it into your computer, but then you'd have to deal with a dongle.
Right.
I know you've had disastrous results with, so.
I have absolutely had disastrous results, and I will never. It's like, no, there are enough companies out there. I just don't need to deal with your. I paid a lot of money for your software, and I'm just gone now. Just gone.
Every company now is creating their own proprietary dongle, which is annoying. I have 3 of them in my computer right now.
I had
3 of them.
Oh, Steenberg? Do you have Steenberg?
Yeah, because I just got Cubase.
Cubase has one?
Yeah. I had the Pace one for East-West. I could get one with Reason, but instead I just have to authorize it every single time that I boot it up.
Yeah.
But if I don't have an internet connection, I won't be able to use it, which is annoying. Because it's like, I own this!
These people are going to die. You people are trash. You licensing people are trash. We're trying to do the right thing out here. And this is what we're talking about on the podcast. You trash licensing people.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the best way to break up or cause strain on your marriage to music is a broken dongle. Cue the music!
Cue the music! Cue the music!
Coming to you live from the great indoors of New York City, I'm Bryan Teoh. Joining me today from Green Bay, Wisconsin is Kevin Macleod. Together, we'd like to welcome you to Composerish, where we discuss issues facing modern working composers. Sometimes.
All right, it's already a spicy one. I mean, my Amazon Halo tells me that my 2 most common emotions are irritated and delighted, and it's not wrong.
It's true. I mean,
I'm irritated and delighted that it got it right, and
Wait, I'm sorry. What? This is an Amazon delivery thing, or what? What are you? talking about?
No! The Amazon Halo is like it's like a watch that you wear.
Oh, right.
But it doesn't have any screen on it. It just listens to you and tells you how are your emotions. What were the highlights of your day? When were you the most happy? When were you the most sad?
How is it tracking you? It's listening to your voice. Is it tracking like pulse and all that stuff too? Or what's the?
Yep, it tracks heart rate. You set it up. It uses the camera and the LiDAR thing so that it will make a 3D mesh of your body. And if you enter your weight, it'll tell you like your percentage of body fat.
What?
Oh yeah, and it tracks how far you've gone. It tracks your metastasis calories, I think, like that. Like the number of calories you need to maintain the weight that you have with the activity level that you are. And it tracks your REM sleep and your deep sleep, and it tracks all that.
How does it know what your body fat percentage is? How does it account for like muscle tone and all that?
Oh, all right. Here's what you need to know: body fat. You need to know how dense you are. I can tell it I weigh 150 pounds. If it makes a 3D mesh of me and figures out what my volume is, it can tell you how much percentage fat you have based on the volume that it got from the 3D mesh of the pictures that it took and the weight that you input. In the before times, you had to go into like a buoyancy tank, and then you had to be submerged in water so they could tell like the difference that you weigh on
thought they took calipers to you.
No. Oh, maybe they took calipers. The real way to do it is you have to measure the displacement.
Buoyancy makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because that I can wrap my head around. I never understood the calipers. People said that they just kind of like pinch your belly with calipers and they can tell you what percentage of body fat you have.
Yeah, that can't be that great.
No, it can't. Because, like, I mean, first of all, people have weight distributed in different places. So if you don't carry your weight necessarily on your belly, but it's all in your butt, that's going to be one thing. But also, like, how much do you pinch? Because
yeah, I don't know. It seems like you have to cut open a lot of dead people to like figure out the tables. That seems like a 1950s way of doing things.
Right. I mean, first of all, calipers, that's just like an old thing. Like,
Hey, I have calipers. I use them pretty regularly.
I thought about getting calipers just for setting up guitars and stuff because you can get super accurate.
Oh, it's $10 on Amazon and it tells you to like the 10th of a millimeter. It's beautiful.
I got a set of feeler gauges to set up string height and stuff and my fretboard relief and all that stuff on guitars. But first of all, they're not super accurate because you have to like work with the subdivisions that the feeler gauges come in already.
Right.
But also, this is a thing that they don't really talk about. They're just really oily. I don't know why that is, but yeah, they're greasy. And I went online to try to find out what the deal was. I didn't really find any answers, although honestly, I didn't really look that hard. Yeah. But people were like, yeah, they're really greasy, so just make sure you don't touch the guitar with them directly or get them on your clothes or anything.
Wait, what is this? This is just a...
feeler gauges. It's like
what is a feeler gauge? Wait.
They're like these little metal strips that they're all kind of like threaded together so you can fan them out.
Okay.
Each of the metal strips is like a different thickness.
Okay.
Like let's say in this case, you slide the feeler gauge between the top of your fret and a string. You can find which one is the right height. Like whatever feeler gauge will fill up the space between those things will give you more or less an accurate reading of how far that is, which is easier than trying to eyeball with a ruler. If you want to be like really accurate, and in my case, like I want the numbers to line up, that's one of the worst ways to do it. I think you can get digital calipers though, and then you can get...
Yes, I have a digital caliper. Hey, wait, cue. Here's some stuff you should buy.
Okay, done. Great. Love that theme, by the way.
Yes. So we're looking at carbon fiber composites digital caliper available on Amazon. It's like $10 to $12. And it goes down to 0.1 millimeters up to 154 millimeters. It's good.
Wow.
And it's super cheap.
Yeah, the 0 to 6 inches.
Yep, that's the one.
All right, great.
$8. You can do inside measurements. You can do outside measurements. It's $8.
Yeah, that's a good deal. And it gets down to tiny, right? What is the minimum measurement that you can get?
It does it in tenths of a millimeter.
Oh, great. I mean, I don't know why you would need to measure smaller than that.
It does 100 micrometers, I think.
Yeah, if you need to measure smaller increments, I would imagine you work in some sort of laboratory type environment where you would have the tools that you would need to do that.
Yeah, you're not going to polish the mirror on the Hubble with this. But if you're setting up a guitar, sure, absolutely.
Right. Or, I mean, and there's so many different things where you just need to find measurements for. And calipers are one of those things that I would never think to buy, but if you had them,
oh my God,
it would be really useful. Like a label maker or cable or Velcro cable ties. These are things that are like, they're not glamorous purchases, but once you have them, it makes everything so much nicer.
Yeah, you're like, oh, wait a minute, my toilet broke and I need to get a wrench to take off the thing. Which wrench do I get?
Yes.
Let me grab the digital calipers and just put it on the thing. And then I don't have to worry about like, oh, is it a 7/16? Is it a ½ inch? Is it 2 inches? I don't know because imperial measurements confuse me.
Yeah. I recently restored a guitar stand and I needed to get foam tubing because like all the rubber that was there to protect the guitar finish rotted off. And so I found out like, people are like, you get like silicone tubing or whatever, but I didn't know what width to get.
Yes.
I have some tailor's tape, but then you're like holding it up to like there and trying to close one eye to see like what line it lines up with and then hoping that the tubing is going to match and whatever. Or you could just take your handy dandy calipers, measure that sucker, get an exact reading, and then be like, okay, I want the tubing to be a little bit more snug than this, so I need an inner diameter that's probably just a little bit smaller than that.
Yes! Oh my God.
Well worth the $8.
Oh, if you don't have a calipers, it is they are joyous, and I just took mine apart, and I'm like, oh wow, it's really easy to get at the battery. Now I can't get the battery compartment cover back on.
So you're gonna have to buy another set of calipers.
No,
for $8.
I'll get it back on. I'll get it back on. Just wait a minute. I was just measuring some.
Is this going to uncalibrate it if you take it apart?
No. I don't know how it works. It's magic. It's $8 worth of magic.
Got it.
Delivered for free on Amazon Prime. Don't even use my coupon code. I don't have one.
I don't have a set of calipers, so maybe this is the push that I need.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just do it.
Because those feeler gauges really suck. Again, they're greasy. I don't know why they're greasy.
It's like, do you have to just hit them with WD-40 or something to degrease them? Or, well, like,
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably have to soak them in something because it's everywhere. It's like,
I've ruined it.
Oh no. Did you really break it?
It's not going back on. Hang on. Because it just came off so easy. I'm like, oh, look, you can get, oh, nope, I got it back. All right, that's totally good now.
Done. Great.
Oh, yes. And then it didn't know, and then I set it to 0, and then it was like, oh, I'm at negative 0.2? No, I can't be at negative 0.2. I'm just going to recalibrate myself. I'm at 0 now. So yeah, it just recalibrates itself if you pull the battery off.
Oh, it does it automatically.
Yeah, you just shove it closed all the way, and then it goes, oh, that was negative 2 millimeters. And it's like, that's not possible. That must be 0. So that's how you calibrate it. Just close it.
So what do you use calipers for?
Well, I mean, I used it when my toilet broke.
Is that what you got it for? I mean, you bought it for a purpose, I'm guessing.
What I bought it for was a entertainment podcast idea that I had of doing Star Trek night shift, doing maintenance on shuttles, just like a
Wait, this is a conflicting podcast. You're cheating on Composerish?
I am cheating. I am cheating. Oh, don't worry. This is not as easy as it sounds.
Okay.
So the problem I have is when I go to bed, I just put on a familiar thing. I'll throw on some old Star Trek or some new Star Trek. Nothing really happens. You don't have to pay attention. You kind of know the story. It's like having an old bedtime story read to you. But as I've seen with my Amazon Halo, sometimes I get up in the middle of the night, and it's usually during space battles. Because they wake me up.
Because it's loud.
They're loud. They're meant to be loud. They're doing their job.
They're supposed to be dramatic.
Right.
I think if you're sleeping through the space battle while you're watching an episode, they haven't done their job properly.
Yeah. So my idea is to make just all the boring parts of Star Trek. We're just going to put them back to back for an hour and a half where nothing happens. We're just doing maintenance on a shuttlecraft, just hearing a couple people talk and, watching some maintenance go down. Honestly, it's mostly fixing the fire suppression systems because those break all the time.
Those darn fire suppression systems.
They break all the time. So what I was doing was, in order to get some sort of interest but not interest, I'm building like an iPad interface where like you push the button and it starts the test. And sometimes the isolinear rod comes out fine and sometimes you have to replace it.
Wait. This is actually a thing that you're building?
Yes.
How are you doing this?
In JavaScript.
So you're creating a custom JavaScript interface for your iPad.
Yep.
I didn't know that you could script in JavaScript for an iPad.
Oh yeah, you just write it to HTML. Just write it to HTML, you go to the web page, and you can make it go.
Oh, got it. Okay, so you are connecting to a website.
So I'm connecting to a website where I wrote this thing, which plays Star Trek sounds for testing and then, failure and success. And it can do computer voices laid in, so it can do announcements every now and again. And you can also run things like, the door opening, door closing. If you're asking for like tea, Earl Grey hot, it makes that little noise there, and you can push that button. Right.
Yeah.
So making all this in service of this super boring podcast.
And once you have this set up, you plan to do like recording sessions where you're tinkering around with this iPad app to trigger different sounds.
Yes.
And you're doing this live.
We're doing it live. Yes.
Amazing. That's great.
And even
that sounds really unexciting.
It is. It's more exciting than it should be.
I thought the goal of the project was to make it unexciting because then you can sleep to it.
That is the goal. But it turns out, even if you have a 30% chance of an isolinear rod fail, if you get 4 of them in a row, you just get exasperated. I'm like, come on, we got to get through this fire suppression unit. And then it takes time to replace the rod, and it becomes interesting. Unintentionally.
I'm going to call this an app, even though I know it's not one.
Yeah.
So this app is like calculating chances that your fix and scans are successful. Is that correct?
Yeah. You just type in a number. 30% chance of failure, 5% chance of failure.
And then you hit go, and you're like, all right.
You hit go.
Retrying the...
and then it does a thing, and then we're all waiting, because we're repairing the shuttlecraft, so we're all waiting to see what the result is. And, okay, this one's good. Let's do the next one. All right.
You're doing this with other people.
I'm doing this with one other actor, yeah.
Got it. That's... How excitingly unexciting.
Yeah, it's just two people in a shuttle bay talking back and forth. Everything has to be acknowledged and repeated. It's like checking number one. Number one looks good. Checking number two. Number two looks good. Everything is call and response, very easy, high-end maintenance.
How many of these sounds are you designing yourself? Are you actually doing the sound design, or are you getting like Star Trek sounds that people have collected? Because I think we've talked about this before. And you said there are people that have databases of all this stuff.
They do. And it also turns out that those sound effects are super easy to recreate.
Sure. Are you creating like the space ambience and all that?
Yes, I absolutely created the space ambience. Yeah, the warp drive stuff. I just straight up stole the door opening and closing sounds from Star Trek. Just stole them.
It's like a...
Yeah, those. But like the computer thinking and accepted or declined, I made those myself. I also stole the replicator sounds.
Okay.
So it's a hybrid. It's a mix.
It's really interesting when you start digging into sound design for like Foley or any of that kind of stuff. Because things that you would think are kind of complex, once you start digging into the techniques of how people do this stuff, it's all kind of basic synthesis and manipulation. Or field recording and stuff. I was trying to recreate the sound of an 80s cartoon sword swing sound.
Yes!
Because I wanted to end a track on it. I'm working on a score right now for an animation that has like this mecha transformation thing, and it's a heavy nod to like anime, where like the robot all comes together. They're like, Voltron team, assemble! And then the music comes on, and they have the animations of all the robot parts coming together, and they form the arms and the head and all that stuff. So I'm working on a thing like that, and I wanted to end it with like a swing. And I was like listening to all these sounds from like clipped from either shows, or people had stuff on free sound, but like the quality was absolutely terrible. And I was like, how do you create this? And my head was stuck so much in synthesis world. I was like, maybe like I can take white noise and then sweep a filter so it goes, and then I would have to try to figure out like some sort of like sine waves to go like ring. But then there's going to be like an overtone series and all that. And I was like beating my head against a wall until I was reading somebody talking about like sword Foley design or sound design for like games and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I got 2 kitchen knives and I clanged them together. And I was like, oh.
Really?
Right.
Wow.
So I got 2 like real chef knives. And I did run them together to get that kind of like metal on metal. I used the backs of the blades. Did it a couple times in front of a mic. Got like a really good anime sword sound just from that.
Nice.
And then I ended up doing like a bunch of other stuff. I compressed the hell out of one sample, so I got like more of like the actual ring and less of the initial attack sound.
Yeah.
And then I layered that back with the original sound, and then kind of like, balance those two. And then I took some like sine waves, and I ended up like reinforcing it and whatever. But the major part of the sound was actually just 2 metal blades running along each other. And I was like, wow. Why was I overthinking this?
Can you imagine?
Of course. And that's probably the same thing with like all this stuff when people were like, I need to create a door sound. It's like, well, record a door.
No. We have to talk about the subsurface sampling of the... No. Anyway... Get some digital calipers. They're $8. You don't know what they can do until you know that they have them. You're going to put them in your junk drawer. It'll be in your junk drawer. If you have a junk drawer and it doesn't have a digital calipers, get a digital calipers.
If you like what we do, please do us a favor by going to the Apple Podcast app and subscribing to Composerish. Boilerplate contract agreements. Yep.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
it's not a particularly enthralling topic.
Oh, boy.
There's not going to be a lot of funny quips or anything like that.
Oh,
but
boy.
this is really important stuff to know. I have not had to negotiate an awful lot of contracts. It's a lot of this stuff is just kind of like handshake agreement. I tell them how much I charge. They give me part of it. I do the music. They ask for edits. I do that. And then, they give me the rest of the money and that's it.
Yep.
But it is a thing that comes up eventually in most people's careers. I know that you had mentioned in previous podcasts that you are not super interested in contracts at all and you don't do them anymore.
I do. I mean, I literally do them, but not for most of my projects, right?
Well, I'm guessing that a lot of people out there, if they don't do it now, they're going to have to deal with this at some point. And having somebody weigh in on what sorts of things should you put in your contract would be useful information to have.
So I'm just going to talk about one thing. My brother is a contract attorney, and I have definitely asked him about contracts and like what is enforceable and what isn't enforceable. The big thing that you have to worry about is indemnity. Watch out for the indemnity clauses. Indemnity clauses is when somebody buys your music and then some other third party sues them about the music, they can just get all of the money that you gave them and then some from you without going to court. Because you promised them that you wrote this music.
Okay.
Watch out for those indemnity clauses. Those are the things that are going to potentially ruin you. These are the asteroids.
How do you know if there's an indemnity clause?
It will say
in the contract agreement?
Clause 6, indemnity, bold.
Okay, so it actually says indemnity in the actual contract.
It does say the word indemnity. Search for indemnity. If they don't have indemnity, sign it. You're fine. You're good. The problem with indemnity, if you want to ruin me, talk to me, get me to sign a contract for, I don't know, $10,000 project with an indemnity clause. And then you just have your cousin sue you. And then you get all of your money that you ever paid me back, guaranteed, without a trial, without anything. And I have to pay all of your legal fees. And I'm hoping you're calling your other cousin to be your lawyer. And you can take me for everything.
So that's like a loophole if somebody really wants to destroy you.
Right. And if you want to prove that it's fraudulent against them, which you can, and you'd be right, but you got to fucking lawyer up. If they have more money than you, they will fuck you. But if you have more money than them, you can fuck them criminally. Like, it is super illegal to do this, but this is a thing that happens.
That's always the fear of anybody taking you to court at all. If they have a ton of money and you don't, you really can't do anything.
Yeah, you're just going to be screwed.
It's like the law favors whoever's the richest in this case, because it's like, I can't afford to get a lawyer, so
Right.
if you threaten to bring me to court, I just kind of have to roll over, because otherwise, what am I going to do?
I mean, your best bet right now is probably the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is my number one charity. They help out people like this. And it's rare, but really, that is the only thing that I look for in contracts. It's like, oh, you want it for the worldwide? Sure. You want it perpetual? Sure. You want it whatever? Sure. Fine. Whatever. You paid me for the thing. You get it.
Fair.
But those indemnity clauses, and it's like, well, our lawyers say that we need to have them. Well, you don't. You can just take it out.
So the only thing that you look for is indemnity, and that's it. And the only way to protect yourself against it is basically to have it not be in the contract at all.
Right. Or it is okay to give somebody indemnity against gross negligence and fraud, assuming you're not stealing the shit. Like, if you're an honest person, it is okay to have indemnity against gross negligence and fraud because they're never going to be able to prove that. If you actually wrote those pieces, you have to be like literally trying to screw someone for the court to say negligence is one thing, gross negligence, completely different. Doesn't sound like much different, but legally, oh my gosh.
What is the difference?
Negligence is, accidentally leaving your baby in the car. Gross negligence is like scheduling babies on hot days so that you can leave them in cars. It is super hard to prove.
So there has to be malicious intent.
Yeah, pretty much. Although they don't, malicious intent is another thing. But yeah, you're never going to accidentally get it if you're a person who actually just makes music. Even if you accidentally steal chord progressions or any of that, that would never be considered gross negligence. Unless you're trying to screw the other people over, right? And you can absolutely give gross negligence and fraud indemnities.
How much can an LLC protect you from indemnity clauses? Because my understanding is that LLC literally is limited liability.
Yes.
And I do not have an LLC. Yeah. Maybe I should take this out of this podcast. But it's a thing that people suggest that you get because if you end up getting sued for whatever reason, people can't come after your personal belongings.
Correct.
Your personal
They can't come after
wealth,
your house. They can't come after your car. They can't come after your bank account.
They can gut the business.
They will absolutely take all of your business. If your business have assets, if you wrote music, those are assets they can seize. They can own music.
Well, they can seize the actual music.
Oh, yeah. They can seize the copyright to that music.
And I'm assuming if you wrote off any purchases, like let's say you bought a computer for your business work,
they can come and take that
because that is a business expense. Got it.
Right.
So they kind of work hand in hand. Indemnity clauses and LLC both are there to
Yes, the LLC
you.
will limit. Like, if you sign the contract, they can take all of the money that they gave you pretty easily. Let's say it was a $10,000 contract. They can take that back, and they can, if they can prove damages to their business, which I'm sure they can, because they have more lawyers than you. Of course they can prove damages. Like, well, we should be having this amount of sales, and we only have this because of this jerk. No, and they can really take your entire business.
Oh, yeah. At what point do you think it's prudent for somebody to establish an LLC?
An LLC is going to cost you about $1,000. I would.
It's $1,000.
It's about $1,000 to make an LLC. You know, you can get it less, you can get it more, but figure $1,000 to start an LLC. I would say if you're making about $20,000 to $25,000 a year, start an LLC. That's probably the better way.
And that's a one-time cost, correct?
It's a one-time cost, and then you have to keep it up. That's about $300 a year just to keep it up.
And you can establish that anywhere.
Yeah.
Where is your LLC based?
Probably Delaware. I forget. I don't know. It's one of the cheap places. It's like the cheapest place. You can just go online and do this.
There's no reason to establish it any specific place over the other aside from cost, correct?
Cost, and if you are a California LLC or a New York LLC, that might gain you some street cred, but it's just going to cost you extra money and it doesn't give you any more protections. If you are listening to legal advice from a podcaster, you're an idiot.
Yes, we're not lawyers.
We are not lawyers.
Neither of us are lawyers. We're just talking it out.
Yeah, we're just talking it out.
And
I'm going to say, when is it worth it? Probably at about the $20,000 a year level. Are there weird shit everywhere? Yes. Are you living in another country? Weird. It's going to be different. I'm saying if you're in the US and you're making about $20,000 a year off of this, start an LLC. It will probably be beneficial to you tax-wise, especially if you have another job. If you're only making $20,000 a year, if this is your only gig, nah, man, no one's ever going to sue you. You have no money. That's the first rule of law. You don't sue poor people.
But you can retroactively claim damages, correct?
Yes. If you become rich, quickly make a business. Quickly. Protect that. That's not going to happen, right? $20,000 a year for making library music.
Way to keep the dream alive, jerk. Like that's never gonna. That's not you or me or any of us. We are doomed to be poor.
You're already behind. It's not gonna happen.
No, it's good. This is all good stuff to have. I think that you need to be severely cynical to get into music in the first place.
You know shit.
At first, it's like, I want to make music because I love music, but if you do it for any amount of time, you will soon face self-doubt and fear and inadequacy, and it's all just darkness. And you can deal with all that stuff in healthy ways, but I don't think I know a single person who's making music who doesn't have like this, like, just blasting ennui through their instrument. It's just like this long sigh. So that's a thing.
Anyway, make yourself an LLC, get yourself a federal tax number. It's about $1,000. I'm sure there's places that'll do it for $250, but expect to spend $700 plus. And then you get it, right? Then now you're a business, and then you gotta change all of your bank accounts to be business bank accounts. And
Which cost more, don't those?
this is why you have to be making more than $20,000 a year doing this for it to make sense. Because if you're paying your local retail bank another $50 a month for a business account, you don't want that. You want to have enough money in there so that you hit the $10,000 minimum where they give it to you for free.
There you have it. Nobody's making money. Everyone needs to protect stuff. Beware of indemnity clauses and get yourself an LLC.
Cue the outro!
Cue the outro!
Cue the outro!
I'd like to thank everyone for listening. If you have any comments or suggestions of things you'd like to hear us babble on about, please feel free to contact us at composerish@gmail.com. Until next time, keep on writing.